Today I fucked up by speaking to my ex's current GF who reached out to me. Long story, my 23F, horribly toxic, mentally abusive ex's current GF contacted me out of nowhere. She asked me about how he was when we were together. Let's call my ex John, and his current girlfriend Jane to make this easier. To be clear, I did not know Jane existed before she contacted me because I completely blocked out John from my life, so I wasn't even aware he had a new GF. On top of that, I broke up with him around 2018, so I hadn't thought about him in a while. When Jane contacted me, I was hesitant to speak to her at first, but I felt bad that she was going through the same thing I did when I was with John, and so I agreed to talk to her. After the first time we talked, she would call me crying every time they had an argument to vent or to ask me if John showed the same behavior when him and I were together. To help everyone understand how abusive he is, on one occasion she told me that John told her to not talk back to him and would sometimes get physical. As for me, he accused me of cheating when I got raped. Anyways, whenever she called me about these things I always talked shit. Why wouldn't I? Sure, it's immature, but I absolutely despise that guy and thought she deserved better. I told her several times to break up with him. I was looking out for her and knew John was bad for her. Jane and I actually hung out a few times per her request. I realized over the course of our friendship that all she did was talk about John. I guess it was the only thing we had in common. But the weird thing is that John told her everything about me and my relationship with him. Jane would talk to me about all the things John told her, and it would remind me of my past relationship with him. This was really bad for my mental health because I was basically reliving everything that I had gone through when I was with John. I even started having nightmares about him. I tried telling her several times to please stop talking about him if she wanted to maintain our friendship, but she just wouldn't stop. So I had to cut her off. Well, that failed because I wanted to rescue the cats in her yard, so I started speaking to her again. I told myself that I will not let her talk about John by being very transparent, and then we can just be normal friends, but more importantly save the cats in her yard, lol. Well, she still never stopped talking about him. This time it was different, because for some reason she felt the need to heal me, and she always talked about how me and John needed to forgive each other since we were both toxic to each other. I got really mad, mainly because I'm pretty sure me and John were over each other, and felt it was really out of place for her to try and be the mediator when our relationship was over years ago. I lashed out and told her to stop trying to heal me and that I'd gaff about what her BF thinks about me, and that again, she needs to stop bringing him up. I guess she got mad, and so she proceeded to send me a full essay with an intro, body, and conclusion paragraph about why I'm a bad person. 1. Because I put all the blame on John and for our relationship and failed to realize my faults. 2. I was insulting him and pressuring her to break up with him even though he was better than how he was when I was with him. She also said he treats her like a goddamn princess. I told her to have a wonderful life with him and blocked her. Am I wrong for thinking she had no place to try to be my therapist? Either way, I definitely fucked up by getting involved with her. Too long didn't read. My ex's current GF reached out to me for advice, then shat on me for giving her advice. P.S. He never found out that she reached out to me. Fuck them. Did you got the cats? I was so close. I actually asked her if I can go get the cats, then she dropped the essay on me, crying face. You can't be anybody's mama or therapist in situations like this. Some people just want you to share in their misery and get mad when you tell them no. You were completely right to cut her off, and she was dirty for getting mad at you because you don't wanna hear about someone that hurt you. Sounds like she was trying to emotionally abuse you because that's what she's going through now, and she feels like she needs to take it out on someone else, but she's not brave enough to do it to him. Part of me feels like she is brainwashed because she doesn't realize how toxic the relationship is. Makes me sad tbh, confused face. How does one go from needing therapy to giving therapy about the same person? Parkour! Exclamation mark. She's trying really hard to be happy with this douche. Keep reminding her that she can't be. Get out of that mess and go get those cats. From experience, John's a narcissist and Jane is completely gaslit and under his spell. You can't save everyone, it's time to walk away. Today I fucked up by tripping balls on my honeymoon only to realize the cabin we rented had a fatal flaw. So, let's go back to 2019 when things were normal and I luckily got to have the wedding of my dreams. Backyard wedding with 45 people and a buffet from our favorite Indian restaurant. Absolute fire. Best day of our lives. My husband and I decided that on our honeymoon, we wanted to rent a gorgeous cabin on a river with big panoramic windows and woods to seclude us. We also decided we wanted to get super high on LSD and mushrooms and fuck like rabbits all over the cabin in a psychedelic dream state. After all, we were celebrating our love. And besides, my husband had done psychedelics for over a decade and I had been doing them for at least a year. We knew what we were doing. We got to the cabin and it was just as Bo today I fucked up as in the pictures. It was full of dozens of Buddha statues, teddy bears, blankets, everything was so cozy. We had some food and settled in. We noticed that, across the river, there was a road and if someone pulled over, we could probably have a conversation in sign language, but there were at least some trees in the way. We also noticed that riverboat tours would occasionally pass by just a few yards away from the back porch. Also, there were other cabins a stone's throw away. Less secluded than we thought. But whatever. It was still really Bo today I fucked up. When evening came, we dosed ourselves up with the psychedelic drugs, LSD and cubensis mushrooms. We sat on the back porch and watched the sunset in each other's arms and I realized I wasn't quite high enough and my husband started getting a little nervous being outside, so we went inside and, blinded by the excitement of our legally bound love, did the number one thing you should never do on a psychedelic, redose while you are already high. While we waited for that to kick in, we started feeling horny and looked for a place to fuck in the house. Kitchen floor maybe not. There were huge panoramic windows pointing out of the living room and dining nook and you could be seen from all positions in the main living area. And there were no curtains. No problem, let's go to the bedroom. Above the bed there was a big 3x10 window looking out at the other cabins. And there were no curtains. Let's try the other bedroom. Again, a huge panoramic window pointing to the river covered in 3 dream catchers. And there were no curtains. Fuck. Let's try the bathroom. Above every toilet was a large window. And there were no curtains. Meanwhile, my husband had been affected by the acid way more than he wanted to, so when I asked him what everything was looking like and how strong his visuals were, he said, "I really can't describe what's going on or differentiate the edges of objects, honey." God damn it, I thought, that's how high I wanted to be. I was barely having visuals, but I was too fucked up to think clearly or drive. And he was too fucked up to protect us or even speak to someone at the door if someone came knocking. It was then that we started getting paranoid. There were large ceiling vents throughout the place. There were dozens of statues and teddy bears. There was not a single window covering in the cabin. It was late in the night and we were tripping our dicks off on psychedelics and there was nowhere in the cabin you could go save for a coat closet where you could not be seen from outside. Were there cameras in here watching us, sending a live stream of us fucking to some dark web wire site in Russia? Were there cameras in the vents, in the statues, in the bears? Did we miss dog whistles in the listing that this cabin was meant for people with an exhibitionist kink? Exclamation mark. As we discussed all these possibilities, my husband stated that my hair and the chair I sat in had melded together and I just looked like a face protruding from a chair to him. Meanwhile I was having no visuals and no coherent thoughts. That's when we got to work. I taped garbage bags over all the windows so we could piss and sleep in peace. We hung some of the abundant blankets over the huge panoramic windows and pinned them in place. It was then that we decided in our drugged out state that we needed to leave this cabin first thing in the morning, but since we had been so thoroughly creeped out, my husband would stay awake and I could sleep a few hours and drive us somewhere, anywhere, else in the morning. The problem here is that psychedelics make it hard to sleep, so I didn't manage to sleep until about 5 a.m. He woke me at noon. We documented the freaky lack of curtains issue and that we had left the place as clean as we found it. We tried going somewhere else, but our honeymoon just didn't work out, so we headed home and had a staycation with our cat. Then COVID hit. So we haven't had a vacation together since that failed honeymoon and we could really use one. Exclamation mark. The moral of the story, Even if every space meant for human occupation in your entire life has had curtains, don't assume your honeymoon cabin will. Also, never redose. Also, don't do psychedelics in unfamiliar places without a sober trip sitter! TL, doctor, decided to trip balls in our secluded honeymoon cabin, only to realize while already high that there were no curtains anywhere and no private areas in the cabin, so we stayed up all night paranoid and creeped out, and our honeymoon was sorta wrecked. Then COVID hit and we haven't been on vacation since. Sex and acid don't mix well, in my experience anyway. I was having a great time skinny dipping in the pool with my crush, then in the hot tub, then we made our way to the bedroom. Everything was going great, the sensations were amazing, and then she got on top, and while she was riding me her entire body was flashing blue and yellow like a strobe light. I stopped things, explained I needed a minute, and went to the bathroom to get myself together. But my dick had shriveled up to the smallest it could possibly be, like it was trying to retract into my body. It was a cold, lifeless, acorn worm. I stayed in there beating my meat until I was sweating, because I was incredibly horny and she was too. But my body was literally refusing to go back out there to that electric strobing creature. And because I was tripping and had no concept of time, I was in there for almost 40 minutes, so by the time I made me way back into the room the mood was dead. Thankfully I didn't need to do much explaining because she had just been tripping balls in bed lol. 1 or 2 hits maybe. Any more than that and I'm more interested in why I can see water molecules in the air. Haha, I can see you taping stuff to the windows. Nothing like being high and getting off. It is hard to start sometimes, but once you're in the zone it's awesome sauce. You are so right, never ever double dip. I've never had psychedelics, so I was fully expecting you to wake up the next day to find all the windows were normal size and had curtains. Smiley face. I can't believe they would have no curtains. I'd have hated it. Sorry you haven't had a proper honeymoon yet, but hopefully you can start to plan one soon. Haha, well, psychedelics don't generally change the size of things or make you see things that aren't there. But if you get spooked on them, it can turn nightmarish and into a bad trip. We luckily kept our spirits up so it didn't spiral out of control, and we luckily weren't so high we got confused even when the LSD hit my husband way harder than anticipated. Hilarious story, thanks for sharing. You sound like an amazing couple who are going to have a fun ride together. This is a memory that will last a lifetime. Thanks for sharing it. Love your username. My husband is the tits, absolutely love him, and we have survived a lot of tough times together so far. Thanks for enjoying our story. Lol, the best part about it is that we can share a PG version of it without the drugs and our relatives still thought it was funny! Exclamation mark. As someone who loves sex on psychedelics, I can absolutely imagine this scenario. Sorry for your honeymoon, but thanks for sharing. The fireworks with an orgasm on psychedelics are really outstanding. Today I fucked up by asking my friend to leave after I thought he wanted to have sex with me. Happened to me, M25, with my friend, M23, a couple of weeks ago. I'm not proud of it. Important for this story, I'm a heavy stoner and he is not. He has smoked once or twice in his life, while I smoke on a daily basis. So every now and then we have a movie night at my place. He comes over, we chill and it's always very pleasant. Most of the time we wind up playing some games and having a great time. The night he was coming over was a Friday, and because of COVID curfew we decided it was best for him to sleep over in the guest bedroom so we wouldn't have to watch the clock all the time. I just came of work that night at around 6 PM and started smoking. My friend arrived somewhere at 7 PM. My friend has a tendency to be a tad metrosexual. All our mutual friends are in the same headspace as me and believe he's just bi/gay but hasn't figured it out yet, which is totally fine of course. For some reason the thought of him being gay didn't leave my head the entire evening since he was very touchy, which I don't like. I have kind of a touch phobia, and probably also because I was stoned as hell sitting there feeling every touch more intense than it actually was. So, continue the evening, It's half an hour before curfew strikes and all of a sudden my friend calls, "Aren't you forgetting something?" and gives me wink. My stoner head went berserk with thinking he wanted to initiate a physical relationship at that moment, and I stood up telling him, "Sorry, but I'm not like this. It's fine if you are, but maybe it's best if you return home now." While I was opening the door of the living room which gives access to the hallway, I see him looking all confused. I get a little more down to earth at that moment and I stand there looking at him while he says, "I just thought because I was staying over, you'd share a joint with me." I started laughing and sat down again, explained to him what was going on. He taunted me the entire evening. TL, doctor, stoned me, thought me friend wanted sex, he wanted the blunt. Alt for privacy.